Hi guys, so this is the first sit down we are having in 2022. It's February already and I'm hoping to put out more videos, so I do not want to take much of your time. In today's video we're going to talk about the Tinder Swindler. This is a documentary that is so well put together that the story flows and it's easily understandable from any person's point of view. So the Tinder Swindler is about a man called Simon Lavier. If I'm not butchering his name, but if I am, apologies to any Jewish people who will get to watch this. Simon is an individual who had a Tinder account. I don't know whether he still has a Tinder account. I am not aware of that, but with this Tinder account he used to lure women into getting into relationships with him, and not necessarily romantic ones, because the ones that I saw that he got into romantic relationships with were two, and one that was kind of platonic, yeah, and he would use this relationships with these women to swindle them of their hard-earned money. And honestly, I personally believe that this could be prevented and could have been prevented. A documentary like the Tinder Swindler would have been put out here, and people will be encouraged to watch it. So if you're here to watch it, let me just give you the story in a nutshell. So as I was saying that it's about Simon, and the women that are in this particular documentary are three, but I believe that Simon had swindled countless numbers of women, and only these three were able to come out and do this expose on him. And I understand, because how being swindled of your hard-earned money is difficult, because these women had plans for this money, but they believed and trusted in this man who groomed them into believing that he has money and will be able to return the amount of money that he had borrowed from them. I am here to talk about the lessons that I picked up from this particular documentary, and the lessons that I have picked up from life, and I've incorporated them together. The first lesson that I picked up is that people will groom you. So when someone wants to take advantage of you, most often than not, they just don't go into it. They groom you. And in this case, these women were groomed into believing that the swindler, or Simon Lavier, is, I believe, the grandson or the son to a billionaire. And in this case, these women believed that whatever money Simon will borrow from them, he will be able to return. The other place that this is actually happening and people don't know is Facebook. I've seen several women talk about how a man will come to their wall and appear so put together and appear to be living the life, and then they chat, and then 2 days after that he's asking for maybe 5,000 shillings, 10,000 shillings. The truth is that the lifestyle that they're putting out there is just a facade to get you to believe that they can afford this kind of lifestyle, while you are the person who's supposed to fund their lifestyle. When people want to take advantage of you, they will make you believe what they want you to believe, so that you can be vulnerable and they can take advantage of you. I remember back in university, I was still dating my husband, and there's this guy my husband used to hang around with. So I was at home. We were closed for the holidays, and I remember this guy calling me at around 11 o'clock, telling me that my husband had been arrested and that he needed money to get him out of the police station. And I remember wondering, now where am I supposed to get 5,000 shillings just to send him so that my husband, who was my boyfriend at this time, to be released from custody. This guy had called my husband and realized that his phone was off. So he decided, let me just call this girl and tell her that the boyfriend is arrested so that she can send me money for me to take alcohol. And I remember this guy used to live the kind of life that you would wonder what kind of family he came from. And for me, I was just disgusted by the fact that he would lie to me that my husband was arrested so that I can send him money to buy alcohol. I remember calling my husband later on because his phone had spoiled, and I had to contact him like a week after that. And when I told him this, he told me that he had already gone back to his home and that he was not even in the school's vicinity. So there is no way that he was with this guy at that time. And from that time, I just learned to listen to my intuition, because something had told me that this guy wants to swindle you of some amount of money. But in my head, I just thought that he's being kind enough to tell me that my boyfriend is in custody so that I can do something about it. So people will always groom you to make you vulnerable so that they can take advantage of you. That is lesson number 1. Lesson number 2 is that do your due diligence always. While dealing with people, it's very difficult for you to judge from the way they are or judge from how they treat you. Because the reason why I'm saying this is because most of the time when we are dealing with people, our minds are clouded with emotions, and emotions end up corrupting our decision making. But there is one thing that remains true to us as human beings. Our intuition will always be triggered, and when your intuition tells you that something is wrong, please go by that and investigate. By doing your due diligence I mean that you should look into a situation and assess it, just to see whether there is truth in the situation. The first lady that talks in this documentary, their first date, she was taken to a luxurious hotel. I remember her saying that she even felt out of place. And on this same night, they flew on a personal jet. And on their way to the airport, there was Simon's baby mama who happened to tell this lady that Simon is good, that he supports them. He supports her and the child. For me, that I am sure that she did ask herself questions, but she did not want to follow up because she was clouded with emotions. And she did not want to think past those emotions. Because how is it that you would think that somebody's baby mama would be okay with you dating them? Because in my head, I would think that this girl is coming into this guy's life. They are going to have their own children. And what might end up happening eventually is that this guy might end up neglecting his responsibilities and not take care of my own child. So when that happened, for me, I'm sure that her intuition told her something is wrong, but she just decided not to follow through with just taking caution or doing some background checks, and just decided to go with what this guy was selling her. And it's so unfortunate because being emotional is part of us being human beings, and we care. We care about people we love, we care about things we love, and unfortunately human beings have also mastered the art of understanding that this is what is important to human beings. So even as we do everything, I would like to point out that this will not have happened if she listened to her intuition. So lesson number 2 is do your due diligence. And while dealing with human beings, due diligence entails listening to your intuition. And then the greatest lesson and the most saddening thing that I took from the documentary is that the act of victim shaming is so much embedded in society that we do not care about people's mental health. It's unfortunate and disheartening at the same time, because this lady came out here to give you very critical information so that you can learn from her own experience and not make the same mistakes that she did. But the first thing that people do is now victim shame her and take the limelight away from the oppressor and now put it on the victim. It happens daily in society. So I've come to realize that it's your responsibility to always ensure that you are safe, to always ensure that you are in a good state of mind, because how is it that she comes out here to tell us that this is happening? And I'm sure that Simon is not the only person who does this. We even have people in Kenya probably doing it. People took it upon themselves to point out that, oh, you are silly. She's not. And as I have said earlier in the previous lesson, is that our intuition talks to us, but we are human. Our judgment ends up being clouded by emotions, and the truth is that you cannot make yourself immune from feeling or having emotions, because it's part of who we are as human beings. It's unfortunate that these women have gone through this, and the best thing about all this is that we take lessons as we go. And I will say that human beings can be evil at times, but this does not mean that every human being is evil. But this Tinder Swindler documentary is something that everybody should watch. The other thing that I've learned with this Tinder Swindler documentary is that people like Simon will do everything possible to cover themselves and make sure that they cannot be found criminally liable, because even if you could, when you go and check out the documentary, you will realize that he just lured the women into taking out loans, lured the women into giving him money, and there is nowhere that he took out the loans himself. And the worst one was the one that he told this girl to take 25,000 to him in a different city, if I'm not wrong. And I remember how worried she was going to the airport with such kinds of money, and she was wondering whether she will be caught and what implication this will have. And upon getting to where Simon was, he ends up telling her that his life is in danger and he needs to leave immediately. That is after he gets hold of the money. Then later on, the girl texts him and asks him what he's up to, and he says partying. So practically Simon used this money just to fund his foolish lifestyle, because honestly, to be it's all vanity. Why would you get someone into debt and then just fund this kind of lifestyle? Because $25,000 is not little money. This girl goes out of her way to get the money for you, and you end up telling her later on that you've gone to a party. If your life is in danger, would you go to a party? No. The other lesson that I picked up is that these guys who swindled you in this kind of way, they will do anything possible to cover themselves so that they will not be found criminally liable. So the only form of liability on Simon will be impersonation and acquiring these passports in different names, because you should have one name and your biometrics should be uniform in one name, but he had passports in different names. That is the only thing that could have put Simon in any sort of criminal liability. So they will cover their tracks in any way possible. I even remember that at the end of the documentary, they wrote that they tried to include Simon in the documentary, because when he was arrested, he was taken back to Israel. He ended up only serving 5 months and was sentenced to 13 months because he was cautious, and at the moment he's still living that luxurious life, while these ladies are still suffering. So the truth is that we have to protect our own mental health, and this can only happen through being cautious of who we are dealing with. The fifth lesson is that we should always be cautious of who we are dealing with, because our dealings with people will affect us mentally, financially, spiritually, because coming into contact with this kind of a person will not only scar you for, will make you vulnerable in so many other ways. So that's another thing that I learned. So I took out 5 lessons, and I believe maybe lesson number 4, which is they will cover their tracks legally to make sure that they are not held criminally liable, should be lesson number 1. But I am here concentrating on us and what happens to us as a society and as individuals. So I took out 5 lessons. So lesson number 1 is grooming of victims, and lesson number 2 is we should always do our due diligence. Then lesson number 3 is the act of victim shaming is deeply embedded in society worldwide. We actually do not care who's being victim shamed. Then lesson number 4 is that they will cover their tracks legally to make sure even if they have swindled you, you do not have anything against them criminally. Maybe if you can institute a case in court to just recover your money, and in this case it's quite difficult because this is a person who hops from country to country, from city to city, and getting hold of them is just something else, or getting hold of their properties, because you don't even know where they stay, you don't even know what they own. And lesson number 5 is that we should always protect our mental health by dealing with people. We should always take care of how and who we deal with in order to protect our mental health, our finances, and our spiritual well-being. So those are the lessons that I picked up from the Tinder Swindler. You can go check it out. If there's anything that I've left out, you can comment down below. Have you watched the Tinder Swindler? And how was it? Did you like how the documentary was put together? Have you had a scenario that you were almost swindled of your hard-earned money? Share in the comment section below. And thank you so much for staying this far. Bye.